Okay, so you're probably wondering, how in the hell do I get to that rear valve cover on my Cadillac DTS? And I wonder the same thing. And I tell you what, it is a bitch to do. Not impossible, just a bitch to do. So as you see here, your air pump has to come out. Basically, there's a clamp on here, you pull that off. A lot of the times, these two ends here that you take a clamp to and pull it back, that is facing downwards, so it's gonna be kind of hard to get that facing up to get a clamp accessible to it. But it is possible to do, it just takes a little time. And I'd recommend that you take the hose off down towards where the exhaust manifold is. It makes it a lot easier to remove that way and a lot easier to clean up the gasket surfaces. You're going to need a gasket to put back on there because you cannot reuse the old one, because 9 times out of 10 it's going to be disintegrated. I'll show you a picture of the AC Delco part number here in 1 sec. Here's the part, and I will get the numbers here. So screenshot that or take a picture of it, whatever you want to do, write it down. But I'd recommend going OEM for this kind of stuff, because once you get that valve cover back on, replacing this is a bitch. With it off, it's super easy to do. Okay, here's your air pump. So it's going to be facing like this. So you have a couple bolts. You got one here, one right there, and then one right here. And then there's a nut here that you can just loosen slightly. There's a bracket for the O2 sensor harness that it just basically slides into, so you just got to loosen this a little bit and it slides right off. You can kind of see what I mean with that tube there. Makes it a lot easier. Okay, once you do that and get that all removed, you have this power steering hose right here. I have mine removed already, but you just take, oh, what the hell was it? I think I just used just a simple adjustable wrench here and just took that off. But it looks like a 14 or 15. I could be wrong, so don't quote me on that. But this just comes off, a little fluid will come out. This is a high pressure hose, so as long as it hasn't been ran within the last couple hours, you'll be fine. It won't squirt out at you or cause a huge mess. Just put a towel over it and it'll be just fine. And then you got a wiring harness right here. So you see this guy that I'm pointing at here, I'll get the light. Oh wait, no, that's not the one. I lied. It's this one here. This one here will trail, let me get the light again, along the valve cover. And here's like a bracket for it. And then a piece down there. I don't know if I'll put that back on. That's just held on with a piece of tape. That's just, I don't even know why the hell GM would even do that. That's pathetic. But you want to take that off, slide it up over here, because gives you a little bit more room to kind of finagle with the valve cover. And then you have this main harness here, which goes to your injectors. You don't have to take this off. I tied it up. You can kind of see with some wire. You can use zip ties, tape, whatever you got, and just kind of get it out of the way. So when you pull the valve cover off, it doesn't go into the valve train and get a bunch of dirt and shit in there, because you don't want that in there. Then you have a PCV tube. This basically just goes into this hole. There is a little, see this little, oh, it's all blurry, sorry guys. Can't get it to focus, but basically you push on it. You can see what I'm doing there, and it releases it. Very easy to do. A lot of people don't know about that, and they just pull it off, pry it, and they break it. But you don't have to break it. It's really easy to remove. And now the coil packs, you have to remove these because these go down into the valve cover, into the cylinder head where the spark plugs are. You can't just leave these in here. It'll act like, it'll just be a bitch to remove if you just leave these in here. But basically what I've done is I've removed them individually, then I removed the bracket. This makes it a lot easier just to remove it as one whole assembly. You got a connector here. This can get a little tricky to remove, so I'll show you the main connector that retains this clip on here. Okay, so here's the clip, or the connector here. You can see under there's a little tab. You want to get a little screwdriver, just kind of play around with it. Don't pry it, don't jab at it or anything. Just kind of fish a flathead screwdriver around in there. Let me find my this is what I use. Whoop. This is what I use. Real small. Just kind of played around with it a little to find that clip, and just kind of pried up on it slightly. Didn't take much force to get it off, but this is something you really don't want to break, because this is when this job gets really expensive, because shit gets broken. Okay, now getting to the bolts. You got some up in the front here. There's one where one would be. It's missing right now. I'm actually in the process of putting the bolts back in, because I've just gotten the gasket replaced. And then you can see one right there where the light's shining directly onto it. Then you got two down there. The one at the far end is your ground. It basically grounds out the valve cover to the block of the engine. I'm not sure why they would do that, because I don't know. I'm not an engineer, but you don't want to forget about that, or not put it back in, because well, I don't know what the hell happens, but I don't want to find out. But basically what I've done is I had an extension here, and I had two more extensions, if I can find them. Oh, here it is. Basically connected these and that with a swivel, or a U-joint, or whatever you want to call these. I just call it a U-joint socket, and a 10 mil. And I put it through here and was able to get that out. The other one next to it, I was able to just kind of go through here and get it out. It's not fun to do, but it is possible to get those out. And then you got some bolts back behind the firewall. And, you know, it's pretty easy to feel around. You can look up on Google of the firewall side valve cover and just kind of figure out where the bolts are, so you know you're getting them all. And you can get them out that way. They're all 10 millimeter bolts, and they're not that tight on there. So and a lot of the times they're not corroded, or they shouldn't be corroded, because I think they're aluminum. I'm not sure. But now when you get ready to remove this, it's going to be kind of tricky to remove this, because you get all this shit in the way, especially this EGR tube, for getting this out. And 9 times out of 10, you're going to get a little bit of dirt or some sort of grit inside of the valve train. That's why I'd recommend, you know, using a air hose or whatever you got, the carb cleaner, and just spraying it out. And then afterwards, just remember to change the oil after running it for a couple minutes. But it shouldn't hurt it. But yeah, once you get it out, you can do your gasket, and I'll show you what I did when I put the gasket in. Okay, so this is where I had my gasket. You can kind of see an imprint of where the RTV was, but this is what I used. I just put that around the gasket because, you know, it kind of helps seal it up, keeps the gasket in place. And you know, I really don't want to do this job again, so I don't really want it to leak, so I just had to make damn sure of that. Okay, so this is kind of shitty of me, but this part number here is for your spark plug, the spark plug well seals. This basically goes into the valve cover when you have the valve cover off. Basically keeps the oil from going into the spark plug well and causing a misfire. It's probably a good idea to replace those while you have the valve cover all off, because you don't want it to leak when you put it back on. So again, write it down or screenshot it or whatever, but these are pretty cheap. I think I got these for like $8 for all 4 of them. Now, tool wise, I used a little bit of everything. I had some magnets, an even stronger magnet there for getting bolts off. Long ass screwdrivers for picking at shit. There's all sorts of sockets. I mainly use the 10 millimeter. I don't even think you have to use anything else except like an 8 millimeter for when you disconnect the battery. Which actually reminds me, before you even touch anything in here, before disconnecting anything, highly recommend you disconnect the battery. I just disconnected the negative terminal there by lifting up the seat. You just pry up on the front and it pops right out. This just prevents anything from shorting out or throwing any codes, because the last thing you want is another project, especially on these goddamn cars. Everything's hard on them. But yeah, so that should be it. If I'm missing anything, just let me know. I'll say one more thing. if you are planning on doing this job, try to do it in a shop or a garage where it's shaded and you have AC, because doing this outside right now, especially right now with the summer going on, you know, you're damn near 90 degrees and 78% humidity. It's not fun. This job you want to take your time on, because you really don't want to dick up on it and have to do it again. But I hope this helped you guys. Again, leave a comment if you have any questions. Thanks for watching.